Ice baths, cold plunges are all of the hype right now. It seems like everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. I know as long as I've been training, 15 plus years, people have been using ice baths and cold water. But man, here recently in the past couple of years, they have just become a household item where everybody is doing them, not just your big athletes. Everybody seems to, at least if they're not doing cold plunges, people are interested in cold plunges. So it's one of those crazes right now. To me, it's kind of like the keto craze, diet fads, P90X, muscle confusion, like all these things, fads that have hit over the years. I was someone who was against ice baths and against cold plunges, and here's why. Before, I used to train for Spartan races and marathons and things like that, and at that point in time, I jumped on the ice bath bandwagon. And so I started taking ice baths. Like as soon as I would finish training, I would take one, which I would only do that like once a week because ice was expensive, and I would just put it in my bathtub and then get in there. And so I would usually do it just once a week on my long run. After a while, I got to learning that ice, when it comes to recovery, even with an injury, that ice is not the best practice. If you get an injury, you should ice within, I think it's like the first 24 hours. But after that, ice is not the best method to speed up healing. It's actually heat and movement and things that would conduct more blood flow that'll help you heal better. So with that, I got to thinking, man, that the cold plunge thing, I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I still am not all about cold plunges for recovery. If I want to recover faster and speed up my recovery, what I'm gonna go do is probably go get on my assault bike for 20 minutes and pedal at a really light pace. So I'm getting blood flow to my whole entire body, and I'm flushing out more toxins, getting more blood flow to all the different areas of my body. Now, I'm not gonna do something like a cold plunge, which is gonna restrict blood flow. With that being said, there are a lot of benefits of cold plunging, and right now, when I'm shooting this video, it's September 24th of 2023, and I started messing around with cold plunging again this past June 2023. And I bought a Prodigy, one of them little plastic portable cold plunge tubs. I bought it, put it on my back porch. Actually was a very good looking little tub. And I started cold plunging once every few days, but I was having to put a lot of ice in there. I could put my well water in it and get it to, that would be like 65 degrees. And then I'd put a couple bags of 20 pound bags of ice in it. And then that would get it to 55 degrees. And at that point in time, man, even 65 was cold. 55 would just take my breath away really cold. But I got to doing it and I got to loving it. I really got to, it just became a great experience. So I was like, man, I love this, so I'm gonna do it. So I built a cold plunge, I did the chest freezer conversion. I went online, I looked up a lot of information. I was in the chest freezer DIY Facebook group, the John Richter's group, and he is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to chest freezer conversions. I would say he is the Bible for chest freezer cold plunge conversions. He's gonna tell you, he's been doing it for years, and he knows everything that you need to do in order to do it right. So that's a good resource for you there. He has a book all about converting chest freezers into cold plunges. So I converted the chest freezer, went and bought a chest freezer, converted it into a cold plunge. So, and that was around July 4th. So since July 4th, I have been cold plunging nearly every day. The only reason I have not cold plunged is going on vacation, but I've cold plunged every single day. At first, I was just doing it in the afternoon and then I realized quickly, like I was doing it sometimes in the evening, and I noticed doing it before bed was not a good idea. I could not sleep very well after doing it. But I wasn't really prepared mentally to cold plunge first thing in the morning. That just seemed like something I never wanted to do. And somewhere along the lines, I started a cold plunge in the mornings. I think it was sometime around August. I started a cold plunge in the mornings when I would wake up. And I have fallen in love with cold plunging. So after I've been cold plunging now, I've had my chest freezer conversion since around July 4th. So I've been cold plunging for a few months now. So what are some of the benefits that I've experienced from cold plunging? Well, for me, the number one benefit of cold plunging has been the mental benefit. I can wake up in the morning and I can go in the cold plunge and I don't even need my coffee. And I was at this point before I started cold plunging where when I woke up in the morning, I would immediately think coffee. Like I wish somebody would just bring me that cup of coffee. I had no problem waking up and getting up, but I would immediately crave coffee. I mean, it's an addiction for sure. I noticed when I would cold plunge immediately, I wouldn't need the coffee. And then I could go like a couple hours after that without even needing coffee. So that was super cool. And I noticed that the energy I got from cold plunging was very clear. It was very focused. It was not, I like the energy that I get from coffee. I love it, but sometimes the energy, sometimes coffee hits you different at different times, or for me anyways. Sometimes coffee will get me really dialed in and focused, and then there's other times where I feel like it gets me kind of like a ping pong ball bouncing off the walls and can't really focus on something. And so I noticed that the cold plunge helped me woke up and it helped me get really focused. But I think the number one main benefit that I love about the cold plunge is that I don't ever really, unless it's like the afternoon, I really don't ever want to get in, especially in the morning. I never want to get in and feel that cold water. And so what happens is when I conquer that first thing in the morning, I conquer that weakness inside of me that does not want to get in the cold plunge, and I fight it and I get in anyway. I have an immediate win to start the day. I have an immediate win over my flesh, over my desires. I have that immediate win first thing in the morning. And that win kind of propels me and snowballs me through the rest of the day. It gives me momentum for wins for the entire day. And so for me, that's the number one benefit, is getting that win. And for me, that makes it worth it. It makes it worth it. I can get a win. A lot of people do that through exercise. Like for me, my best hours of productivity for work are first thing in the morning. So I don't want to exercise first thing in the morning because I'm taking away from my productivity first thing in the morning. So the cold plunge, I can get in there for 3 to 5 minutes, and I've only spent 3 to 5 minutes and I've still got that win out of the way. And it gives you a feeling almost like exercise. I come out and I am wide awake. I'm ready to go, ready to attack the day. So that's the number one benefit, is getting that win under my belt for the day. And then it's also, I will say this, getting in the cold plunge, one of the benefits is it slots some time of my day that I can do breathing exercises. Because when I get in that cold plunge, there's nothing else that I can do except be in that plunge. I'm submerged up to my neck. My hands are submerged in the water. I can't be on my phone. I can't be doing anything else. So it's a time of meditation for me. It is like the one time of day that I'm doing absolutely nothing for 5 minutes or more. So I'm sitting there, and a lot of times I incorporate breathing exercises many times when I'm in a cold plunge. So I'll either do Wim Hof breathing or other types of breathing exercises. This is a great time of day for me to get in those breathing exercises, get in some meditation, clear my head, and get in that cold tub and do absolutely nothing. And I'm outdoors. Another great way that I've found that I can use the cold plunge, one benefit of having that cold plunge there and available and cold and ready for me, is if it is later in the afternoon and I get home, say I've been out of town, I've been in meetings, I'm tired, I don't feel like working out, I can hop in that cold plunge and it wakes my body up. And I hate working out when I'm cold and when my body's cold, or I thought I did. But after I cold plunge, my body and my joints and everything feels so good that I'm actually ready to work out. So what I'll do is I'll get in that come home from work, get in that cold plunge, and it just wakes my body up, and it's like it gets me primed and everything's ready to go. And then after that, I'll do a very light warm up to get everything nice and warm back up, and then work out. So I use it almost as a pre-workout. So I'll cold plunge. So sometimes I'll cold plunge in the morning, and then I'll cold plunge again prior to my workout. Another benefit to cold plunging that I personally can see, and this is just a personal opinion, but if you are struggling with depression, or you're struggling with addiction or things like that, I personally feel like a cold plunge is a great way to distract your mind from that. Another weird benefit and that I noticed from cold plunging, and look, I know that there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of mixed research out there about cold plunges, but I noticed after cold plunging for like 30 days, I don't know if it's something else that I'm doing, but my belly fat seemed to be reduced. I've always had like the same amount of belly fat, it feels like, for my entire life. And all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, after like 30 or 60 days of cold plunging, I started to see, I can see my abs more. I don't know. I don't know if it's something else that I'm doing, but it started happening after I started cold plunging. So not 100% sure on that. We'll see where that goes. I don't know if it was the cold plunge, because I'm always messing around, changing things with my diet, experimenting with different supplements, and experimenting with different types of training. So I can't say for sure that it was a cold plunge, but I did notice after maybe 30 to 60 days of cold plunging that like my belly fat seems like it has been reduced somewhat. So one thing that I did not notice, one benefit that people claim that the cold plunges really help with recovery, I have not noticed any increase in recovery from the cold tub, which I am predominantly just using the cold tub in the morning. I do not cold plunge directly after my workouts. As a matter of fact, I make sure that if I am cold plunging again later in the day, that it is, if it's after a workout, that it's like 4 to 6 hours after a workout, because they say that you do not want to cold plunge directly after your workout because it can blunt the adaptations that you're trying to get from working out. If you're trying to gain strength, if you're trying to gain muscle, or if you're trying to gain endurance and you're doing endurance exercises, if you cold plunge directly after, it can hurt and blunt your adaptations, and you do not want that when you're training. However, I will say that the cold plunge might be a good tool for somebody to use as they're getting really close to competition. So let's say it's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitor and they're getting ready for competition. They're 2 weeks out from competition. In 2 weeks, you are not going to get any physical adaptations from your training that are going to pay off for that competition that's 2 weeks out. So at that point, your training is just for maintenance. It's just to keep you're greasing the groove, as I like to say. You're just staying dialed in your training, and you want to build confidence and you want to feel really good, but you're not really looking for physical adaptations at that point because they're not going to happen fast enough to give you any gains for your competition. So at that point, 2 weeks out, maybe I would start cold plunging directly after my workouts, after my jiu-jitsu sessions, because I'm okay with blunting those adaptations. My whole main goal is to recover faster, because when competition day comes, I want to be fresh. I don't want my muscles broke down. I don't want to be wore down. I don't want to be in a training state. I want to be tapered. I don't want to be fatigued at all. I want to be primed. I want to be tapered perfectly so that I'm ready to go on competition day. So I'd say the cold plunge could probably be used for that 1 to 2 weeks before competition. Could definitely be used during competition. If I was a CrossFit Games athlete and competing at the games, I would absolutely be using the cold plunge, probably even directly after workouts, to try to get my body temperature back down as quick as possible, potentially. I haven't looked into a ton of that. That being said, I haven't noticed any benefits to like recovery. I haven't really noticed like any, it's not miraculously healing any of my injuries or anything like that. So the main thing for me after 60 days is that mental benefit. It's getting that big win to start the day, conquering and doing something that I just don't want to do. I don't want to get in that water. So what I do is I walk out there, I get the cold plunge, get the lid off, and I get my phone and I go ahead and set my timer on my phone. I set my timer and set it to the side. That way it forces me, that timer is going. It forces me to get in that tub, so I'm not standing around waiting like, oh man, I don't want to get in here, I don't want to get in here. I just set the timer and that forces me to get right in there and get going, and I get that big win to start the day. If you have any questions about my cold plunge experience, hit me up in the comments. If you have any questions about building a DIY chest freezer, also feel free to hit me up, because I did do that recently. I can get you some really good resources on building that cold plunge tub. Look in the description of the video. I do have a link to my blog where it lists out all the items that I use to build my DIY chest freezer, and I will have a link to the video. I made a video about building that freezer, so you can check both those out. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll see you on the next one.